Okay. All right, next. I am apologizing to you because we sort of carried on mythology of American history book and things, Hollywood, that people fight with swords all the time in our times. By the way, with us, it is always 1648. That's our year. It's very important year in Ukrainian history. And in reality, there would only be fights with swords at the very beginning of a battle. When they still, in this time, 1648, you would still have duels before battle. You'd pick out a pole, for example. It's best if we're fighting poles. By the way, this is real cut from earlier today. We really do hurt each other. And, you know, you call him, his mother was a hamster or something, you know. Well, as kids, I can't do what I'd really say. I'm not good at making up non-swearing version of skull. But anyway, you would fight duels, and then the real battle would happen. Now, the second place where swords really were used is when somebody starts to lose. Somebody turns their back on you and tries to run away, then it's time to stick you in the back. Yeah, that's good. But really, in the beginning, it was about, you know, abusing the opposite side. And the Poles were very commonly our enemy. And so I actually am wearing a special piece of clothing to be able to offend Poles. And it is my boots. And if I was really dexterous, I would put my foot up there for you, but I'm not. So I'm going to take my boots off. Okay. Okay, this is my boot. Two things about it. One, we've already discussed the red. Oh yeah, and I hand this amongst you. Please don't see it. This is how you actually get red. Have a look in there. That is true cochineal beetles. Cochineal is a bug you grind up, and that's where you get red coloring from. And by the way, ladies especially, and well, some men too, not joking, your makeup is now made from those again because all the other reds have been banned. So you're back. And by the way, if you're drinking Code Red, you're also drinking crushed up beetles. That's the only food coloring that is acceptable now. So gone right back to 17th century. Okay, so red boots, very, very expensive, showing off wealth. But you notice again, black. They've been tarred and they have never cleaned. That is also important because again, showing disdain for wealth. But the real one for the Poles are the heels. Okay, now these, for obvious reasons, are called horseshoe heels. And these, I always tell you absolute truth, fact, these are only silver plated. I'm cheap, what can I say? They should be solid silver. And it would be silver stolen from the Poles. And so I would walk up to front of Polish army, and they might be just like those little tacks you wear nowadays to keep your shoes from wearing down, or like this if you're really rich. But lots of us Cossack would go forward, and they know what's coming, but it's so much fun. Pointed silver heel, pointed tag at Pole, and say, "With every step I take, I grind the wealth of Poland into the ground." And that's usually worth at least 2 or 3 fights. So, once I'm annoyed, having to rethink my whole lines here, once I have annoyed the other side, I would then actually move to real fighting. I have to put my boot down. Hang on, it's not easy. I have peasants do this. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so what is war really like in 17th century? War is really bad. There we go. All right, war is really about guns. And that's the bit that we get wrong. And we're talking this type of gun, which is a matchlock, and I'll explain more. Is really from about 1450, 1480 till 1801. This was the gun that ruled warfare. Okay, why did it last so long? much better technologies came along, but you cannot break a matchlock. It will always fire. That makes a weapon unique and very worthy in the military's eyes. You can give it to the best idiot on the field and he can still at least point it in the vague direction and somebody might get hurt. Maybe. Okay, this is the matchlock. The match of a matchlock is this piece of string. Okay, it's called a match because it sets lights to things. It wasn't specific yet. This particular match is same Ukrainian, French, German, all made from hemp string you set light to. However, you'll have to be a little pervert to be sniffing this string because it is soaked in women's urine. Concentrated women's urine, boiled down to a 10 times thickness paste, then hand rubbed, and don't have a cut when you do that, into the hemp string. Now, why did we do this? Women's, you are hot things. You have 10 to 30% more nitric acid in your urine. Nitric acid is a major component of black powder, along with saltpeter and charcoal. It's the bit that burns very hot. Okay, so that was done. By the way, in your own war of northern aggression, as you call it here, there was also niter beds. Those Confederate ladies were pouring out their urine, and probably the slaves were picking off the crystals, but that's what kept the Confederacy fighting for at least 3 years after they should have gone down. They went back to making it old way. Anyway, so there you are, women's. Hot urine. All right. Right now, this is matchlock. You fire. It's a simple lever mechanism, but you fire by pulling on this thing here, which of course is called. Thank you. No. Matchlock is only gun in world that never has a trigger, even if it looks like a trigger. It's still called sear bar. Okay? Now remember that when you're on one of those quiz shows and you win $10 million, Max wants his 10%. So you fire like so, but you don't do Daniel Boone thing like this. If you do, you do it twice. One for each eye. Because this is an open pan. Because this is still string. Sticky, gooey string, but string, it moves. So in this open pan, if you're into black powder, 90 grains of black powder just in the priming pan. That means big bowl of plasma. So when you fire a matchlock, you actually have to turn your face, then fire. Does not help accuracy. And by the way, real musketeers, if they had real musketeers here, would all have black mark here. That was signed because they are constantly burnt on this cheek. All right, almost enough about guns. Do want to show you just